Halo's back, baby.
I have a sneaking suspicion you might have liked this episode.
I think this was probably top 3 episodes of the Halo TV show
Of both seasons?
by Paramount Plus that has come out.
Is it because there were shooty bangs?
Yes.
Are you a big dumb?
Yes.
Are you a big dumb boy who
meathead.
shooty bangs?
I obviously didn't read the books. Yes. I'm not watching the show to see Master Chief's sexual prowess. Okay? We've seen him lose his virginity. Okay? We've seen him have mummy issues. I'm just about ready to see Master Chief be Master Chief a little bit. He wasn't in the armor, but that I think added a bit to the mystique of this episode.
Okay, yeah, I think I didn't hate it.
Still not great. But good.
Yes, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I think I was very meh on it. It at least didn't make me angry, apart from the fact that he wasn't wearing his armor.
Mm-hmm.
But I semi-forgive the no armor thing because I see what they were going for. What they're going for is obviously, he's not invincible anymore. He can be beaten. But we've only just seen him be kind of invincible, and he's only really worn the armor for like 3 minutes in the first episode of this season. So we haven't really shown how invincible he is. Like, he barged past a bunch of cops or whatever, but like, we didn't see him taking shots and beating people up as well. He took on one elite and then a bunch rocked up, and then he was like, oh no, and then they left for no reason. But we didn't really see him be the invincible Iron Man. Like, and then this is him stripped of his armor. Oh no. But we've seen him without his armor like the whole show. It's like the Mandalorian. He wears his armor the whole time. In the finale, he has to take his helmet off, and that's like a massive moment. And everyone, even me, who was pretty mad on the Mandalorian, I was like, oh shit, like, they've stuck to their guns, they've done the thing. But in this, they didn't?
Yeah, I mean, quick aside on that note, I think I see a lot of people compare this to Mando in the whole like helmet off, helmet on thing.
Yeah.
In the Star Wars universe, it is the law in the universe of why the helmet doesn't get removed. In Halo, there's no law around it. There's nothing around it. It's just, it exists this way.
Yeah, it's more, yeah, it's iconic.
It's spoken rule and unspoken rule.
Because of the way they've shaped the show and they've chosen to make it so politically not intriguing, but so politically not intriguing and very talky versus the amount of action, whether that's budget or whether that's just the writers didn't want to do action. It would be weird to have him in the armor the whole time. I get why they're not doing it, because you can't have him in the armor if he's just
Pablo needs to be seen in order to be recognized.
See, he's not even that big of an actor. I think that's just weird.
This is his launch project.
Considering how big Leave is, like, he's been a star since the like mid-90s or earlier. It's weird for Pablo to suddenly be like, I'm the leading man. Yeah. But I see what they're doing. They were trying to do Extraction for this whole episode. They were like, again, I'm not sure if it's because of budget, but they barely show anything. And it's all handheld cam. It's all following the guy. We're doing hidden cuts. We're trying to do long shots
as well.
Sorry, hidden cuts. It's dark. The reason they're doing that is so that it feels like we're amongst the action, and it's like we can feel exactly what John feels. But also, John's pretty unfeeling. John doesn't really change his face at any point in time.
Yeah.
And the action isn't good enough to make it feel like Extraction, where everything's crazy. Like, there's one move he does that I was actually like, oh shit, when he grabs the elite's
mandibles.
Yeah, mandibles. And just like fucks them up from there. I was like, oh shit, that's really cool. Whereas that's every 3.5 seconds in Extraction. Like, he's tripping people, lifting them up, throwing them off balconies, and you're just like, oh my god, this man is killing people, like, graphically. Whereas in this, because he's fighting CGI instead of real people, they can't do any of that.
Yeah.
And this show has a budget of like $10 million per episode. Where is it going? The show looks nice. Like, for everything that isn't a fight or a CGI, looks quite nice. What's that episode of Game of Thrones where there's the big one shot where they're all fighting on the wall? Like, there's the wall and there's like Castle Black behind it. Basically, that was like the most expensive TV episode ever at the time. And it was like $10 million or something. I think they spent $100 million across 10 episodes, and everyone was like, holy fuck, like, that's a lot. But you can see it on the screen. Whereas in this show, this is what I'm getting for $10 million, and it's worse than Game of Thrones was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And is it all a money laundering scheme? Like, where does money go now?
Interesting.
There's a couple of extras and stuff. There's explosions, but again, it's all so close up. And instead of making me feel like I'm in the action, it just makes me feel like they're hiding stuff from me.
It's like Chief and Perez going through like apartment buildings. They take the fight through an apartment building. When it's not in the apartment building, it's in like a little kind of, I don't know, like a walkway kind of area in between buildings.
Corridors.
Corridors.
Alleyways, yeah.
And then we're on like the end of a bridge. We're in the barracks in like a small room.
It feels like the volume. Like it feels like they're very green screen at times.
Whereas it's essentially like it's a big open map, when you're playing the games. All right, I'm sure in the books.
When you play in the books,
all right, I know there's all kinds of missions in Halo. But the grand missions in Halo where you're literally just driving a warthog for like 10 minutes.
It feels like a war.
Minutes, but like you're driving here, you're flying here, just to get to another section of where the Covenant are. And I know this is a battle in a city, but there could be a lot more like bigger grand scale things that they could be using.
Yeah.
Use the whole city, don't just use an under city and
on that
stuff.
city. We've barely seen any of it. We've been to the underground rave city.
Yeah.
Where we've seen that place like 5 times. This is the first time we've seen the actual streets.
Soundproof, vibration proof. The whole city's on fire.
They show it from above, and like there's so many explosions everywhere. And these guys,
and people are just like
within 100 meters of the church that blew up, they're just like, "This is fine, guys." Until like people get thrown across by elites, and then you get another little fight. But it's all just so claustrophobic, and it does. It feels like a fan film, kind of cheap. I watched a bit of Forward Until Dawn again, just to like remind myself.
How's that feel?
Everything except the actual CGI looks really, really good. Like Chief jumps off a building and like lands perfectly, and it's like a real set. It looks like a university campus maybe. That's like, because like I don't know why university campuses always seem like the most sci-fi places.
Yeah,
like they're always so architecturally pretty. But yeah, he jumps off it, lands perfectly. It looks incredible. They probably spent like $1.50 on it. But then they show a hunter, and he looks like dog shit. But also, this was 15 years ago, so.
Good point. Where's the money here going? Also, because there's no big actors in this. It's not like, they have Robert Downey Jr. in every episode, so that's where
they got to give him
$8 million is going. So it's like, if it's not going towards cast and it's not going towards sets, where is it going?
Money laundering. I don't know. Cool. Allegedly,
someone in the comments will say, "How about you make a TV show and you tell us how much it costs you?"
And I will.
Shut up. It's some of that first fight where he tackles the invisible elite through the wall, and he's like fighting with it. It's so quick. Yeah. Like it's doing this so much.
You can tell it's to hide the CGI. I didn't mind that as much, like in isolation. But yeah, when it's in an episode that is about this big invasion, when you see him like punch a couple of dudes, it does feel very small, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And then you've got everybody dies. Soren's going to join the group. So they decided they have too many black male actors. So they murder 2 of them within 3 minutes of each other.
We know what you're doing, Paramount Plus.
They telegraph it so big. Pablo Schreiber says that you're going to need a while to recover from this episode. I'm assuming he thought I was attached
said that?
to... in an interview. I assume he thinks I was attached to any of these characters.
Yeah.
But they kill the boyfriend or husband of the old Spartan. The old blind Spartan.
Yep. Then
him, because he needs to sacrifice himself.
I looked at Daniel
It
and
was
said,
just so obvious.
I went, his boyfriend's dead. Time for him to make a noble sacrifice.
But as soon as he was like, I'm going to come too, it's like, which one of them is going to die? And then you're like, probably that one. Yep. Dies. And like, time for a sacrifice. Does it. It's Halo by numbers.
It's write a TV show by numbers.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. How about you subvert my expectations a little bit?
They do show a bunch of jackals all together in one go, which they don't really do anything on moves. I don't know how expensive that ends up being but they're just like standing there a bit.
How come they don't kill Keys? How come they're all just like, now that all the killing is done, we're going to stand here while this ship full of people
you blow us all up.
Yeah.
And then Perez survives. You were unhappy about that.
Why couldn't Perez go uncouple it?
She's going to be back. She's going to come back later.
I don't like that.
More Perez.
I don't like that.
For some reason.
I get it. She has PTSD. She's showing what everyone's going through in this season.
Or she's got a code in her head. I'm still not sure.
No, she's just crazy.
You reckon just PTSD? Oh, another thing on the city. They show the city from above being bombed, and I realized I don't know the city at all. I don't know the layout of the city. I don't know what the people in the city are like. The only bits of the city we've seen is Chief walk through it real quick to get to the underground.
Yeah.
And then he's just like in Rave City. But they're just showing like random points getting blown up. And I'm like, are those points important? Is this a big city?
Yeah.
Is this a small city? It's a planet, so I assume it's big. They break into a woman's apartment and it's full of old Earth stuff. And again, it just felt really fan filmy to be like, oh, we couldn't get props, so we just got old shit. And we're just going to say she's an antiquer.
She's like, that's from Iowa.
What is this futuristic world that this woman just has like CRTs from 500 years in the past? And then Chief mentions Thermopylae Pass, which is, again, several hundred years ago.
Yeah. It's a
1,000 years ago
surely
at that point?
there's a better example of a war or a battle being fought in a small
we won't
pass.
understand it.
Very true.
It would have been. They could have mentioned like, that battle on Fallujah, and like, ooh, what's that?
Fallujah. That's the place on Earth. Look, I don't know why I like this episode. I think it's because
It was the shooty bangs, wasn't it? Or is it because
it was shooty bangs,
It had
but it
momentum.
was also momentum. Things happened. We saw action, and then we saw people doing things, and then it was action, and then people doing things. That's what the show should have been.
Instead of
Nothing for
the
3
Covenant
episodes.
are coming. No, they're not. Yes, they are. And then in this episode, we get the epic culmination,
I'm not going to give you the "you were right" like you won or something.
the satisfaction of knowing you were right. And he's like, well, that's too bad, General, because I told you so. I think one of my main problems is they split it over 4 episodes. If they delete episode 2 or 3 and whack this in, I think it would feel a lot tighter, and maybe I wouldn't be so unnecessarily angry.
Well, this is our mid-season finale.
Correct.
You know, so we have this, and I get it's a great way to finish the mid-season. You know, we get a Spartan dying, which is like massive, even though we had like 5 Spartans die in the last episode.
Not have them die. They just showed us dead Spartans. They're like, yep.
Yeah.
they're
We
dead.
have a Spartan missing. We have a Spartan dying. We have Keys dying.
Daddy Keys.
You know, Reach is falling. And I get that's where they wanted to end it. But I think that should have been the setup to the mid-season.
We haven't talked about the other half of the episode. The weird thing about having us super in the action being really kinetic was that they just cut away to Soren and
Oh my
Halsey.
God, yeah.
So
and it's
we
only
would be
for
like right
10
up,
seconds.
literally. We would be right up Chief's ass in the middle of a battle. And then they'll just cut to Soren and Halsey, and he's like, all right, I guess we can break out. And she's like, yep, that looks like us breaking out.
And then
they
right
cut
back to the action.
I'm like, what the fuck was the point of that? That's just bad. I don't know.
It was
Stupid.
weird.
I didn't care much for Soren and Halsey.
Mm-hmm.
Soren is your favorite character.
He's fun. He's quippy. He's like,
He'd
here's
say some good stuff,
Soren.
and you'd be like,
And I'm just like, oh my, that's Soren.
it's like he wasn't bad, but now he's joined the group as well. Oh, and John is now Madam Web and can see the future.
They did reference
he
it a bit
always
in
was?
season 1.
Okay.
Like, they showed like when he was a kid, and she's like, wow, 11 in a row. You
I
got
just
it
remember
right.
them saying that you're so special, John. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
And then now he's like, sometimes I can see things before they happen.
but he hasn't actually shown that.
Yeah. Well, he says
Perez was like, you were so good at fighting in the gun. And he's like, yeah, I can see the future.
it's
And I'm
because
like, what?
I know what they were trying to say. What he was trying to say is no matter what the odds are, I always know that I'm going to make it out. That's why he's so
Okay.
cold. That's why he said it. He goes, I flipped a coin and I knew it every time. And she goes, well, that's the odds. And she goes, he's like, no, it's because I knew that I wasn't going to be the one. Which, Chief, that's not really odds. That's just like confidence. You can't have
cocky as hell.
your confidence doesn't change what the outcome of a coin flip is. You have psychic
You can
abilities.
try.
But I don't know. They can maybe take it both ways because also they did reference season 1 said that he is different.
It was maybe a step in the right direction. I can see what they wanted to do this episode, at least. They just failed at doing it, which just kind of shows that they're not very good at what they're doing.
Look, I think, on the other hand, that they're going in the right direction. If only they started like this. Now they only have 4 more episodes. Making one good episode does not forgive you for the sins of the first 3, which I know episode 1 started off on a bit of a high note, but the second half of 1, all of 2, and all of 3 were a bit dog water. And I don't want everyone to forget that Kwan and Soren's wife still have a storyline.
They're gonna come back.
That's going to go on.
They're gonna come
You know,
back.
we need to find out where
Pirate Queen.
what's her name is. Who's the Spartan that's missing?
Kai.
Kai. I keep forgetting Kai. She's so important.